Is Sony preparing for the A9 III announcement? Are they sending out invitations to not only Sony photographers, but to Nikon and Canon photographers in an attempt to get them to switch? Does Sony have something to be proud of? Perhaps the fastest sports and fast action camera ever? Well, stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. Andrea already told us that the Sony A9 III is a strong candidate for the November 8 announcement at the Sony Creative Space 2023 held in New York City. Today, Andrea tells us that Sony's also planning an event in Istanbul, Turkey, but that this event coincides with the announcement scheduled in New York City. While the date has been revealed, no time has been given. But what is really interesting about the invitation to this event, the one in Europe, is that Sony's handing out invitations to not just Sony photographers, but Canon and Nikon photographers, specifically sports photographers. Sony is expected to announce the 300mm GM, but Andrea believes
we are probably going to get the 300mm GM, but I think all the hassle for such a lens, my opinion, is not justified if you don't also bring a new camera. So let's hope that the sports photographer will see something like an A9 III at that event. It would make sense.
Releasing the Sony A9 III certainly makes sense. It's due for a refresh. And if we take a look at the A9, its shooting scenarios, it's always been designed for, well, high-speed shooting, fast action shooting scenarios, just like the Alpha 1. And while the Alpha 1 is faster and offers more resolution, additional autofocus features and AF points, along with that all-important 8K video, according to Sony Alpha rumors, the A9 III will have the fastest autofocus, fastest readout, fastest frames per second, and that's a big deal because we're limited to 10 frames per second, and that's based on all the mirrorless cameras on the market today. And this was published on June the 12th, 2023. That's faster than the Canon EOS R5, the Nikon Z8, and the Nikon Z9. All three of those cameras are actually capable of shooting 20 frames per second lossless RAW, which translates to a huge amount of data of 1.2 gigabytes per second, and that's more than exceeds what's capable with CF Express Type A cards Gen 3. So is Sony about to upgrade to Gen 4 CF Express Type A, or even give us CF Express Type B card slots in the A9 III? Well, it's certainly plausible. If this camera is indeed supposed to be the fastest in frames per second, the fastest in frames per second shooting lossless RAW, well, it has to go north of 1.2 gigabytes per second. And in order to do that, it must be able to support either Gen 4 CF Express Type A or CF Express Type B. And while the A9 II may be slow compared to the Alpha 1, if the rumors are to be believed, the A9 III will be more capable than the Alpha 1. But will Sony really allow sports shooters to go faster than 10 frames per second lossless RAW? Faster than 20 frames per second lossless RAW? And this has been the big limiting factor to get sports fast action shooters moving over to Sony when the competition, Canon and Nikon, can easily shoot past 20 frames per second, or at least 20 frames per second lossless RAW. But if we go into JPEG, well, we're all the way up to 40 frames per second. But if you're shooting sports fast action photography in a flagship camera, you do need that lossless RAW. So right now the benchmark is 20 frames per second, at least until Canon refreshes the R1 or delivers the R1 and refreshes the EOS R5 Mark II. But again, we have this bold claim by Sony Alpha rumors that the A9 III will have the fastest autofocus, the fastest readout, but most importantly right here, the fastest frames per second of any mirrorless camera on the market today. I'm curious to know if you're a Nikon or Canon sports fast action shooter, what kind of gear you shoot with, what kind of lenses you shoot with, and what could Sony potentially do with the A9 III to get you to switch from Canon and Nikon? What could Sony do in their camera in terms of capabilities to get you to switch? And what could they potentially do with this new GM or this new 300mm GM to get you to switch? Because that's what's got me interested here. Sony must have something. They must have something in this A9 III, something bold enough to invite well-known Canon and Nikon sports photographers to this event. They must feel they've got a winner here. Maybe not enough to get everybody to switch, but enough to get people thinking, Sony with their E-mount, with all the lenses available, with all these capabilities, offering the fastest frames per second, shooting lossless RAW for sports and fast action photographers. It's got my attention. And if you want to stay up to date on the latest camera gear news and rumors, such as the A9 III, which is coming out on November the 8th, well, if rumors can be believed, then go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. By choosing all notifications, as soon as I publish a new video like this one here, you'll get notified, so that way you can stay up to date on the latest camera gear news and rumors. And from a selfish point of view, it also really does help my channel grow. And if you want to stay up to date on all the minor camera gear news and rumors, then go ahead and follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. I constantly tweet out information regarding patent filings, pricing information, all those news stories that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate video. And if you are looking at purchasing new gear from Adorama, Amazon.com, or B&H, then please consider using my affiliate links, as I get a small commission back, which really does help this channel grow. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, and have yourself a great weekend.